Admiral Nikolai Volkov was the Russian Empire's naval attaché in London. He was born in 1870 near Pskov. His family was part of the establishment elite in Imperial Russia, and as such he was born into wealth and privilege, with some members of his family serving at the imperial court. His wife was a lady-in-waiting to the Empress. Not unsurprisingly, after the Bolsheviks came to power in Russia, he elected not to return. He was, like many within the Russian establishment, viciously anti-Semitic. He passed this trait on to his daughter Anna, who was born in 1902 in Saint Petersburg. Around 1923, now unemployed, Wolkoff set up the Russian tea rooms at this location in South Kensington. This became the haunt of those exiled Russians who had fled to London, and no doubt they could come here and talk about the good old days when everyone knew their place in society. On the 10th of September 1935, the whole family became British citizens. Anna Wolkoff became a seamstress. She found some wealthy backers who set her up in business as Anna de Volkov, haute couture mode. In April 1937 she made it into vogue. Her designs were worn by some very influential people in the United Kingdom, such as Wallis Simpson and the Duchess of Kent. However, despite her fame, her business lost money, and in 1939 her financial backers pulled out. Her anti-Semitism led her to support Hitler. She visited National Socialist Germany several times, and probably because of who she was as a member of the Russian aristocracy, she was able to meet the likes of Hans Frank and Rudolf Hess. Volkov shared her opinion with them that it would be wonderful if Adolf Hitler took over the United Kingdom. In 1935 she came to the attention of MI5, who suspected she was involved in sending state secrets to the German government. As she probably did not have access to state secrets, this suspicion was probably unfounded. However, all that was to change. The Russian tea rooms began to become used by the Right Club, an anti-Semitic organisation which had attracted some members of the British establishment elite. The head of the Right Club was Archibald Ramsay. Ramsay said that the aim of the Right Club was to counter and expose the activities of organised Jewry. He said later, "Our first task was to purge the Conservative Party of Jewish influence, and the nature of our membership and meetings was strictly consistent with this goal." Members of the Right Club included William Joyce, later to be Lord Haw-Haw, author A.K. Chesterton, Francis Yates Brown, who wrote The Deeds and Days of the Bengal Lancer, which when it hit the big screen became one of Hitler's favourite films. Admiral Wilmot Nicholson and his wife Christabel were also members, as were Lord Redesdale, Lord Lymington, Arnold Leese and George Henry Drummond, who was the father-in-law of John Astor. The second Duke of Westminster, one of the wealthiest people in the United Kingdom, owning significant parts of London as well as other places, was a supporter. Another member who took the chair at the first meetings was the 5th Duke of Wellington, great-grandson of the victor at Waterloo. Archibald Ramsay had gone to Eton and Sandhurst. As a member of the establishment he lived in a castle, but he liked to be called Jock by his friends. On the 30th of April 1917 he married Lady Ismay Crichton Stewart, the only daughter of Jennifer Preston, 4th Viscount Gormanston, and widow of Lord Ninian Crichton Stewart, a Member of Parliament who had been killed on active service in 1915. Ramsay was elected as Member of Parliament for Peebles and Southern Midlothian as a member of the Unionist Party, which was allied to the Conservative Party. In the government he rose to become involved in the Potato Marketing Board, a role that suited his interest in agriculture. However, Ramsay was radicalised by anti-Semitic conspiracy theories in the mid-1930s. He supported Franco during the Spanish Civil War against what he considered to be the godless Republicans. At a time when the Jewish leaders who had supported the Russian Revolution were being put on trial and judicially murdered in the USSR by Stalin, Ramsay claimed that Jews were behind Soviet propaganda. How he explained the alliance between Nazi Germany and Stalin's Soviet Union has not been recorded. Whilst the rest of the United Kingdom was preparing for fighting with Nazi Germany on the 4th of September 1939, Archibald Ramsay sat in the library of the House of Commons writing a parody of Land and Hope and Glory, beginning Land of Dope and Jury. When the Secretary of State for War, Leslie Hoare-Belcher, who was Jewish, was forced out of office, Ramsay argued that the newspapers that regretted his departure demonstrated Jewish control of the press. It therefore should come as no surprise that Anna Volkoff became the personal assistant to Archibald Ramsay. The Nazi-Soviet treaty did not bother Wolkoff. She contacted the assistant military attaché of the Italian embassy, Colonel Francesco Marigliano. She asked him to pass on information to Berlin, including suggestions for William Joyce's propaganda broadcasts as Lord Haw-Haw. Tyler Kent had worked in the US Foreign Service since 1934. He had served in the Moscow embassy but had been moved to London as his superiors thought that he sympathised with the Bolsheviks. In fact, he sympathised with the old Russia that had been overthrown in 1917. In October 1939 he came to London. He was a cipher clerk and as such had access to secret correspondence. He began secretly making copies of documents he thought might be of value to the Nazis and kept them in a suitcase in his apartment. At the beginning of 1940 he met Anna Volkov. Volkov in turn introduced him to Archibald Maule Ramsay. Ramsay, believing that as Kent had diplomatic immunity and thus could not be searched, gave him the list of the membership of the Right Club. The list of these potential traitors would be safe with him. Tyler Kent was also a believer in conspiracy theories. These beliefs led him to support Hitler, and as such he was prepared to betray his country. Kent was observed by MI5 at the Cumberland Hotel at Marble Arch, handing over a package to Ludwig Matthias, a Swedish man suspected to be working for German intelligence, a suspicion later proven to be true. On the 13th of April 1940 he passed on documents of correspondence between Roosevelt and Churchill to Volkoff. Churchill was then First Lord of the Admiralty in Chamberlain's wartime government. Volkov, a person who had not returned to Bolshevik Russia, then decided to betray the country which had given her shelter and support the country that was now allied to the Soviet Union. She attempted to contact William Joyce, again, the former Right Club member who had fled to Nazi Germany. She did this via the Romanian embassy. She was, however, out of luck. The Right Club had been infiltrated by the British security services. Right Club member Joan Miller was one of those agents, and she reported to the head of MI5's B5B section, that is their political subversion monitoring department. Her boss was Maxwell Knight, the person M was based on in the James Bond novels. British intelligence informed the American ambassador in London, Joseph P. Kennedy, father of the future US president. Kennedy then lifted Kent's diplomatic immunity. On the 20th of May 1940, Tyler Kent's home was raided. Secret documents as well as duplicates of the embassy's coding keys were found. They also found the full list of the members of the Right Club. Volkov and Kent were arrested for violating the British Official Secrets Act of 1920. Volkov was sentenced to 10 years in prison and Kent to 7 years in prison. The trial was held in camera in London on the 7th of November 1940. They were lucky that their treason had not been found out later, as in this case they would probably have faced the death sentence in accordance with the Treachery Act 1940. Only the verdicts of the proceedings were made known to the public. As a result, the British government clamped down on potential traitors. Around 1,000 people were taken into custody in the United Kingdom under Defence Regulation 18B-1A by the end of 1940. Kent was handed over to the US authorities in 1945. The State Department decided not to charge him as a German spy. Anna Volkov served 7 years of her 10-year sentence. On release, she returned to working as a seamstress for Felix Hope Nicholson. Later, she went to live in Spain, which was then more to her political liking. She died in a car accident in Spain on the 2nd of August 1973. The person driving the car was another former member of the Right Club, Enid Riddle. Joseph Kennedy was recalled as ambassador from London 1 day before the Tyler Kent trial began and 3 weeks before the 1940 presidential election. Kennedy, who knew of the secret communications between Roosevelt and Churchill, could have embarrassed the president by talking about them publicly. Instead, he endorsed Roosevelt's candidacy in a radio speech. On the 20th of March 1940, Archibald Ramsay asked a question in Parliament about a propaganda radio station set up by Nazi Germany, giving its precise wavelength, a not so subtle way of advertising it using his parliamentary immunity. It could be argued that Ramsay was attempting to set himself up as the British Quisling. According to informants to British intelligence, Ramsay said that he would welcome a fascist coup in the case of a German invasion. Personally, I should welcome a civil war with shots fired in the streets, he said. After the arrest of Volkov and Kent, Ramsay was also arrested on the 23rd of May 1940. He was put in Brixton prison as a security risk. He was the only British member of Parliament detained under emergency legislation during World War II. Ramsay was not released from detention until September 1944. He returned to Parliament where he placed a motion calling for the reinstatement of the 1275 Statute of the Jewry passed under King Edward I, which forbade Jews from living in England. He did not defend his seat in the 1945 general election. Peebles and Southern Midlothian was won by the Labour Party candidate David Pride. Ramsay died aged 60 on the 11th of March 1955. I hope that you found this interesting. I upload every Friday at 2000 hours Central European time and sometimes on other days too. My specialist areas in 20th century European history and in particular World War II and within that the Holocaust. I now regularly ask my viewers what video they'd like to see next in a poll which comes out on Saturdays. If you'd like to know when I'm uploading, you can subscribe. In the meantime, you might like to see this video I made on the life of Margarita Himmler, the wife of the Reichsführer SS, a link which has appeared now, or at least it should have done. All the best from me, and bye for now.